Hey guys, Corey Cola here, since you asked. Today I'd like to talk future monsters. Now, the devs have mentioned that they have a lot of content already planned that is currently being worked on as far as future monsters, maps, and teens are concerned. So we've got plenty of content coming down the pipes. Now, I know we haven't even played the current monsters on VHS yet, but don't you want more already? I feel you, hungry gamers. And so I got to digging through the devs Q&A, and in one segment, they talked about their personal favorite horror movies. I know. And it got me wondering if perhaps there are clues from their favorite horror movies behind their ideas for upcoming monsters in VHS. The Hellbent devs who discuss this question includes the game's lead gameplay programmer, lead character artist, design director, and the creative director himself. So, seeing as these are the people throwing out ideas and making decisions, it seems like there's a good chance that at least some of the content down the road potentially draws from their answers. So today, I'd like to go over those answers as well as speculate my own prediction and wish. Let's dive right in. And starting the pack, an alien-type monster. Alien and Aliens came up pretty quickly, and this seemed to be a favorite among the devs, and for good reason. Alien is a classic quintessential horror movie from 1979 that struck fear into the hearts of many when it released, and its fear factor and story still hold up to this day. Alien is better than Aliens, fight me. So how cool would it be if we got an alien kind of monster? Not the actual xenomorph, because VHS has no plans for licensed characters, as they've mentioned that they have a stockpile of original ideas that are already being worked on for the foreseeable future, and I'm personally all for the original monster concept. But I digress. With the Alien franchise being as iconic as it is with so many people, including the Hellbent devs, I'd put my money on an eventual alien-type monster to be added to VHS. Think of the map we would get with that too. We could have an alien ship or a lab or nest or whatever. So definitely a lot of creative potential for the devs to make a unique map that really stands out. I'd personally love to see the alien creature itself be more of a feral type alien like the xenomorphs from Aliens, rather than the more campy ones like the Martians from Mars Attacks, or maybe even clowns from outer space. Who knows? But if I were in Vegas, I'd bet it all on some form of alien-type monster within the first year of VHS's content. Bet. In Alien, we see this creature sneaking throughout the ship, picking off the ship's crew systematically, so borrowing from that kind of movie theme. I thought it would be really cool for this monster to have a stealthy approach with their abilities, where they specialize in sneaking around, picking off teens one by one, but would perhaps be more vulnerable around multiple teens. So I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I thought that would be a cool concept. Imagine a cool ability where the monster gets low to the ground with your POV and you skulk around silently like a xenomorph. So there's definitely some fun potential there. And for our next speculation, a Poltergeist type monster. Speaking of classic horror movies, 1982's Poltergeist unsurprisingly came up, and this was a pretty big one in the early 80s too. The paranormal genre was put on the map in a big way after this movie released, and a Poltergeist-type monster would fit right into the theme that VHS has created for itself quite easily. There's a lot of potential for a Spectre-type monster, and I would love to see what kind of abilities it would have, or jump scares that could potentially arise from a monster like that. It's highly likely that a ghost-type monster would have the ability to go through walls, so if that's the case, I'd be curious to see how Hellbent handles that, since a ghostly monster would likely draw comparisons to the nurse from Dead by Daylight. But with Hellbent's philosophy for this game, I've trusted an ability like that would work a lot differently in VHS. I'd love to see it work as a defensive ability where the ghostly monster becomes ethereal and can move through walls and is unaffected by weapons, but also unable to harm or affect the teens in any way while in this form. So there's a lot of fun potential for an ability like this to make a good escape tool, but it would also make a good initiation tool. But the trade-off would be a lengthy cooldown and no way out if things don't exactly pan out for the monster's aggressive tactic of, like, say, coming through a wall and getting in a hit or something like that. Another cool ability would be like a frighten ability that works close range, so you have to pop out and scare a teen, which could cause them to drop a held item or something like that. It would just be really fun to play as a ghost and have part of your kit be about going for the jump scares. And also, hell yes to a haunted house or mansion full of cobwebs and occasional floating objects. Just, Now, here's another interesting idea. A thing type abomination. The thing with the thing is you could make it anything. This was the creative director's first choice of favorite horror movie and another classic from 1982 to make this list. For those of you who don't know what The Thing is, it was an Among Us movie, before Among Us. Now, if VHS added a shape-shifting mimic-type monster to the roster, then that would potentially work really well with a system that already exists in the game, in that monsters start the match as teens and have a short time to transform. Well, what if we had a mimic killer who maybe had a full minute of being allowed to wander around as a teen, as well as an in-game ability to transform into one of the teens? That would be an excellent defensive or offensive ability that perhaps can trigger only when you've attacked or downed a teen, which could then give you the ability to transform into that same teen with a reasonable limit and cooldown, whatever the balance on that would look like. A potential cool play in that particular situation would be to say you down a Faith, right? And then that gives you the ability to mimic that Faith perfectly. Then you transform and you go and meet up with another teen. They're working on a weapon and they're like, oh, hey, you want to help me with this weapon? And you're like, yeah, sure, I'll help you with that weapon. And then whammo, it's not Faith at all. It's a monster punch. So that would be a fun potential. Now, there's also a lot of fun potential for a map here, as you could make it an isolated Arctic station like in the movie The Thing, or a space station like Among Us, or pretty much any kind of isolated outpost type of map would work really well here, and I would be excited to see what the devs come up with. And for my personal prediction and wish, a spider type monster. That's right, arachnophobes. I'm putting this mojo out into the universe, and I hope that VHS delivers on it. What are you going to do about it? Because this game is going for monster-type villains, it's not out of the realm of reality to get a spider-type monster, whether that be an actual giant spider or perhaps a more humanoid spider mix. But whatever the case, the scare factor and ability potential would definitely be fun to play around with here. There's an obvious ability that would work really well here, like a web shooting ability. That could work like a long-range slowdown, but it would be hard to land on the teens, so you would feel rewarded for landing one, whereas a missed one would be punishing for the monster, or whatever that balance would look like. An even cooler ability concept I thought of here would be a tracking ability, where you lay threads around the map that notify you when they're tripped by teens. This could function in a way where either you have unlimited use of this ability but long cooldowns between each use, or the threads are limited but can be placed freely, like the Dollmaster's ability, or like the Hag and her traps from Dead by Daylight. Personally, I would love the former version where the monster is quite weak in tracking at the start of the match, but then eventually their tracking becomes increasingly more dangerous the longer the match continues. This would give the freedom to really lay a good tracking web as long as you properly plan and lay it down throughout the match, but it wouldn't be too overbearing, as there would be a reasonable cooldown and it would function best as a late game tracker. This kind of ability would create interesting scenarios where the teens have to be mindful of matches against this arachno monster going on too long, as that would only give them more ability to lay down more tripwires. But an interesting way to balance this, if that is potentially too powerful, would be to allow the teens to be able to destroy these tripwires with fire weapons, but teens would first need to spot these hard-to-see threads in order to do so. This could open up some potential avenues for teens to have to utilize certain weapon types in order to overcome particular effects on monsters or their abilities. Like the Spectre creature I mentioned prior, maybe holy weapons do something interesting to one of their abilities that we have no idea what they do yet. So a lot of interesting potential there. Anyways, these are just some of my fun speculations, and only time will tell if they hold any water. I've based some of these theories mainly on the devs' answers to their favorite horror movies, but the truth is, the possibilities of monster creations that VHS can make are endless with the far-reaching game concept that they've created. The 80s horror genre was a wild west of creations and ideas of all types of horror monsters that ranged from campy and ridiculous to truly terrifying. So Hellbent is going to have tons of inspiration to draw on to make plenty of original creations. While it's possible that some or all of these ideas could come to life, I'm excited to see what else they come up with and what kind of content this game will feature in a year or two from now. But what do you guys think of these theories and ideas? I'd love to hear from you guys, as well as your own ideas for future monster concepts in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, this has been Corey Cola. Take care, folks.